Today we got this is a 695 Pro contractor. Customer says turns it on, nothing happens. Board lights up, but he's not getting anything. So we're gonna see what we got here today. Before we get started, as you know, this is a working shop. If you don't know, now you do. I have to stop sometimes for my customers, phone calls, things of that nature, but otherwise I try to do my videos straight through to show you how to remedy some of the problems you may have on your machine when you're on a job site, but it does not preclude you from going to a certified shop. This is just to help you out in case of a jam. Before we get started, safety is always number one. Wear the appropriate safety stuff to make sure you're not going to get hurt, because if you're hurt, you can't work. You can't work, can't make money, can't pay your bills, and you're sitting on the street holding a sign asking for money. We don't want that. So as I stated today, this is 695. This is going to hold true for most any Graco electric as well as Graco gasoline as well as Titans that are in their electric gasolines for the most part, vast majority, because they all use one thing for the most part, and that's a transducer. That's what we got going on here today. I've already plugged it up, saw an opportunity here to do a quick video. So what we're gonna do, I got it plugged up. We're gonna turn it on, pressure's all the way down. And if you don't have a readout, you take the cover off and you're gonna look inside and you'll see a board. But you see it says 4,400 PSI. We're turned all the way down. We're not turned up, we're not turned down. 4,400 is way more than this machine's supposed to produce anyway. So that tells me there's some kind of a pressure issue. There's no pressure on the machine. It's just giving a false reading, and that's due to the transducer, which is common when the transducers go bad. Transducers can go bad just on their own or because they've frozen. Now, if you don't have a display like this, your machine, you turn it on like we just did, turn the pressure up and nothing happens. First thing you're gonna do is take this cover off and look at the board. On the inside is gonna be some LEDs. The LEDs might be red, might be green. They're gonna flash. So it'll flash, 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 pause, flash, 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 pause, and it'll repeat 2 or 3 times depending on what exactly is going on. Though it may be more than that, but 2 or 3 is going to indicate a transducer. But those number of flashes, if you look them up, it's going to tell you. It's an error code, kind of like when your car. It's going to tell you what the possible problem is going to be. So in this case, we're showing high pressure. Pressure is set to 0. Shouldn't show anything. We've got no pressure. The motor's not running. It's a transducer. Transducer is in here. So we're going to turn it off. We're going to unplug it. Transducer is inside the filter body on this machine, and that's going to be on most machines. Most machines, they're going to be in the filter body. You can access the plug from the back side of the board, but in this case, on this Pro contractor, we got to take the filter housing off. And first thing we're going to do is a prime hose is right here. We're going to loosen it up. I don't necessarily take it all the way off on the prime hose. I like to move it just to get it out of the way. Then right here you got your pump hose coming off the pump itself. This may be in the way, so what you can do on the Pro contract is flip it out of the way. On the standard series, that's not going to be an issue, but you're going to remove this hose that's sitting on the filter body here, and it's tight in there. So it can be a bit of an issue getting to. And the wrenches are kind of difficult because, like I say, it's a small area. So you don't have a lot of leeway with pull on the wrench. Like I say, the transducer can just go bad because it is an electronic part, so eventually it'll just go bad on you. But if it freezes, it's definitely going to be an issue because it's not like freezing. What the transducer does, as you've probably seen in some of my other videos, is it actually measures the pressure that you set by your pressure control knob over here on the side. So now that's off. We're going to take this off. This is a hard line going to the actual pivot reel on the back of this thing. I'm going tight. There we go. Sometimes when you tighten them up, just a tweak, they will loosen up. That's on a lot of bolts and everything else. But anyway, so the transducer actually measures the amount of pressure that you're achieving. Your potentiometer or pressure control sets the pressure that you want. Alright, now that's loose. Actually, I forgot about it. The plastic piece right here is going to need to be removed, and that's removed by taking the actual prime hose off. I forgot about that. I apologize, but we're going to unscrew this, take it off. I don't like taking those off because they're a pain to put back on. So that just pops off. Boom. You got a bolt here, here, and here. You got to take those off. Before we do that, we're going to come inside of the box because I want to unplug this thing. Because this is heavy, and if you drop it, it will pull the plug out of the board and can damage the board. Now you're sitting at an $800 part that you didn't need to damage. But like I said, still going back to the same thing. The transducer measures the pressure. When it reaches whatever pressure you have asked for, it turns it off. When they go bad, they can either give a signal that it's at the pressure that you want, which is what this is doing, or it can show low pressure. So no matter what you set it on, it's going to say your pressure is too low, and it's going to cause the motor to keep running, and when it does, it'll over pressurize. And at that point, you can rupture a hose, damage packings, blow out a prime valve, all kinds of good stuff. That happens a lot as well. Occasionally, doesn't happen real often, you'll get very intermittent pressure. Sometimes it'll be higher, sometimes it'll be lower, sometimes it just doesn't seem to do what you wanted to do. It'll build pressure, but then it takes a longer time for it to come back and give you the pressure that you originally had. So it just depends. So there's the plug for the transducer, and it plugs in like an old phone jack. For those who've been around long enough to know what that is, you just push the clip and pull it out. Like I said, if it falls, it'll damage that port right there, and if it damages the port, you got to replace the board. We don't want to do that because that's about, like I say, $800, $850. So now we're going to remove the filter housing. Pull them out. Carefully pull this away. Watch the little clip on the inside. Pull it out. There's an O-ring right there. We're going to save that. That's just a buffer against the transducer, back of the transducer in the box. I'm going to save that. 3/4 inch wrench. We'll take this off. We're going to feed it on, put it on there, and then loosen it up. Once we get it loose, we'll take it out by hand. And what you're going to do when you take this out, I want you to look at it. Wiggle it, pull it, get it out. This one's been in there a while. Hold on. Hard to get it stretched out like that. Get something to grab it with. These old meat sausages of mine aren't as strong as they used to be. So we're going to pull that out. On the inside, you're going to see there's a white O-ring, and there's a white O-ring right here as well. You want to make sure that one comes out. That one's not going to stay. That one you want to make sure is out. While you've got it out, look in the hole, and you'll see debris in there. Clean that debris out. It's not packed hard, so that's a good thing. If it's packed hard, that can give the transducer a false reading of low pressure. That's not the case we have here. Low pressure will make the machine want to continue to run. That's obviously not what we had going on. So we're going to get a 239 914 There's another transducer you can use as well. I'm not even paying attention to myself. I said the wrong part number and I grabbed the wrong part. Give me 1 second. All right, my mistake. Like I said, it's actually a 243-222 is what comes in the machine. You see the length of the wire right there. I like to use the 287-172, which has a lot longer wire on it. That's the only difference in this. This is one that would normally go in like a line striper. So I like these because the cable is longer. So when you're trying to move this, it's less likely to have a chance to cause a problem. Being too short, pulling it and then damaging the board on the inside. So we're just going to take and screw this back in. I'll do it over here real quick by hand. Get it tight as you can by hand. Once you got it tight by hand, we're going to put a wrench on it. We're going to tighten it up all the way. Tight, tight. You don't want it leaking. We're going to take our little donut that we took off earlier, feed that onto the wire. We're going to ride it all the way down to the base of the transducer. And we're not going to plug the transducer in, but we are going to feed this line in here because it needs to be in. We're going to hold this up here, place our bolts in that hold the filter body on. Get out of the way. There we go. I'm going to gently start putting these in. Make sure they're not cross-threaded. Now you want these tight, but you don't want to over-tighten them because of that cast aluminum housing back here will shatter if you over-tighten it. So we got it back on. I'm going to tighten up the hard line first. This is the one that's going to be a bigger pain. Dried up paint and everything down in the swivel end of it. Put a little lacquer thinner in there and let it sit for a second. It'll soften up some of the paint that's in there. Make it a little easier to turn by hand. Alright. We're tightening this up. Tighten it the rest of the way with a wrench. This is a flare compression fitting, so you want to make sure you get it tight so we don't have a leak. You don't need a mess on the job. It's tight. Go ahead and put the pump hose on. Wiggle it, jiggle it, get the threads going. Once you got the threads going, throw that wrench on it. It's so tight in there. That's the difference between an engineer and a mechanic. Ask anybody who does auto repair if they're like engineers. Tighten it up. Now we're going to go back over here to the board. We're going to plug this back in. It only goes in one way. Click. You know what's in. Push this up. Screw it back in place. Once we got all this back together, we turn it on and the pressure is down low. It should say 0 or something like that. It's not going to show 4,400 psi like it did to begin with. If it does, we got another problem. That's going to be the board. but I'm pretty confident that it's the transducer. 99 times out of 100 it's going to be the transducer in this situation. It is not going to be the board. Not to say it won't be the board, but that 1% of the time it's going to be the board. Got it tightened up. Go ahead and you just push this back up into place. That's it on that. This actually will hold it in place. Now you have to get this just right in that hole, because it's a flare fitting going on a nipple with a loose collar, and upside down it can be a little bit of a pain to do. Sometimes you get it on the first go, sometimes you get it on the 101st go. Today might be the 101st. Alright, I'm going to spin it back around over to the other side where it belongs. This is actually riding on this pump hose. I don't like that. I want to keep it off of there. That way vibration don't eventually wear a hole in that pump hose. I'm going to put my finger back here. Give it that space. Look at that jump right out of my hand. Like my paycheck jumps out of my hand. Tightened it up tight. We're going to flip it down. We're going to lock our pump back down. Apparently it has shifted. The camera's kind of in my leverage way. It's kind of hard to do this. There we go. You don't want to force these. If you force them, you can break it. And that plate has shimmied out just a little bit to prevent it from sliding back. Alright, so now we're back in place. We're going to come over here, plug it in. Okay, so now we're going to turn it on. Let's see what we got. Pressure's down, prime valve's open, turn it on. I hear clicking. Alright, so no pressure. So we're going to turn it up. Motor's running, which is what we should have. We're going to let it prime up. Okay, you see the prime valve is down. That means it's open. It started building pressure. We're sitting at 340, and it's barely coming out of the prime valve. That means there's a leak, a clog in the system, and it's going to be in the prime system. So with it on low pressure, I'll work this back and forth, and you see it starting to come out of the prime valve now. So whatever clog was in there is out. Pressure's down to 0. So now we're going to turn the pressure back up. We got 1300 or so. And the drop like that is going to be normal because nothing is a perfect seal. We're going to turn the pressure up and a lot of that will go away. Should be sitting at right around 33 or less. And like I say, that drop, you're going to see a drop because it's not a perfect seal in these systems. Now open it, duct pressure off and come back. A lot of times that'll settle the system. Sometimes it won't. It'll help find if there's an issue in the pump. But we're getting our pressure now. That's where we want to be. wanting to leak out of the prime valve a little bit. And she said this one hadn't been used in a while, so I'm sure there's a lot of dried up stuff inside. But that's how you change the transducer. We're going to look at the packings on this one next. But that's how to do the transducer. Got any questions, drop me a line, email, text, find me on Facebook, and I'll see what I can do to help you out. Thank you.